Ken, did you ever, like, back in the day, did you ever imagine that we'd be sitting here in 2021 with vinyl booming beyond comprehension?
It's incredible. Jason Janik asked, are any titles where the source material is too degraded to do a tone poet?
Well, one that comes to mind, we actually ran into this not terribly long ago. I had a Grant Green record called Oleo on the list. It's he was doing those records with Sonny Clark and Grant Green. Michael did a mosaic box with that, and it's kind of embarrassing. So I was like, damn, what a great, I was playing my copy and I was like, man, let's do that. So we get the tape and it won't play. Like, it just won't play. And the reason is the Mylar, is too sticky. And it had been baked before they sent it, like the day before, and we baked it at Kevin's and wouldn't budge, wouldn't play. Like, it's unplayable. And here's the joke. I open up the tape and I find my own note from 2008.
Wow.
When we tried it before and I'd just forgotten.
Oyvind Thorvaldsen, what are your favorite headphones for this work?
Well, I don't use headphones, so that's a pretty simple. I use speakers and I do have headphones for when I used to travel a ton, but for evaluating test pressings and that, I don't use headphones.
Michael Trey, who is the #1 turntable setup guru on the East Coast.
Michael
is tops and good friend of mine. He's been a great help to me in setting up my Kuzma and my Thorn. He asked, and you sort of addressed this, during mastering, is the goal to replicate the same sound as the original pressings, including any compromises made to accommodate the turntables of the time, or to get the best possible sound from the tape?
The latter.
Sean Mayer asked, how do these, and you sort of addressed this, how do these half-century-old tapes get modernized or otherwise prepared for contemporary release? Like, what actual steps do you go through?
Baking when it's necessary. Again, all the tapes from the 50s up through 62, 3, something like that. Rudy was using Scotch 111, and you don't have to, they just play and they sound great. There's no sense of, we got to push the highs because those are faded. No, nothing like that.
Wow.
People come to, when occasionally people come to mastering, they're always astounded by what those tapes sound like.
How does the used market availability of a first pressing or close reissues affect the choice of tone poet titles?
Not at all. I don't really have any, I don't follow that world. So and neither does Jem or Don. It doesn't have any, no, the choices are not made on that basis at all. They're simply made by a ton of listening. I'll sit here and make notes. And I have these running lists, and they have little weird notes to myself, like, do this, you idiot, or other, it's like, don't let this one slide. They're all ways of just saying, don't forget this. And then there's some where it's like, request the tape and check it out. Let's see. I've got lists that would take us for many years, actually.
Server address is it possible to confirm that you have the original master tapes as opposed to second safety masters or second or third gen dupes? I imagine, did Rudy run a safety machine as well?
I think he did. And then he also had to, and maybe that's what he sent Alfred home with. I'm not sure. But he had to, because otherwise how would Alfred, for sequencing and that kind of thing, he'd have to. But anyway, how do you spot an original? It's really easy. You've got Alfred's handwriting, and then you have leader between every track, and you have splices, because they would sometimes splice on, someone would blow the head out or something, and so they would splice on. They couldn't punch in, so you literally have to play that section and then make a splice. And so, yeah, it's really easy. And if you're dealing with, you can tell by the color. I mean, Scotch 111 has a certain look, and it's real obvious. It's very obvious. And then later on, you notice all of a sudden, wow, okay, that's not Alfred's handwriting. That's Francis Wolf's handwriting.
Wow.
And then we noticed we were doing something the other day. It's got to be Duke Pearson. Has to be. And they're all different.
So I guess that's some of your blue notes there behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, this is only one room. I've got, it's
beautiful.
You'll have to come out sometime. It's records all over the place.
That is so great. Well, Joe, this has just been really amazing. A deep dive into the brain of Harley is something everybody
thought.
is, this is something that every Blue Note person would love to hear, I think. And you're just such a repository of information and skill and knowledge and wisdom. Just thank you for all the great work you're doing, man. I mean, it astounds me how Blue Note has been blessed as a label. The original founders, Kustuna, I forgot the other fellow who passed, and you and Kevin, even right down to Jem Grossman, who I've known as long as I've been a journalist.
Yeah.
J.R. Rich, just the best people in the business. This
Charlie Laurie was who you were trying to think of. Charlie Laurie.
Right.
Kustuna's partner. Yeah.
It's just amazing how this has been so well preserved and taken care of. It's just, you guys are you're doing God's work. Jazz God's work.
Well, it's been, thank you. It's the passion of my life, that's for sure. Along with my dog, Ella, and my wife, Baron. But Ella's been really good. She's been quiet. She hasn't barked. Her voice is not like her namesake, Ella Fitzgerald, I guarantee you. But yeah, that those tapes were cared for and protected and all of it. And then, Francis Wolf chronicled it all, took pictures of it all. So what an amazing pairing those two were, the producer and then of course Francis became a producer too.
Yeah, it's amazing because in the early 70s when jazz kind of went left from the US, who knows, anything could have happened. But the fact that this was all preserved and continues to have such a high degree of expertise applied is just, wow, the gods were looking down from above. So thank you, Joe, so much.
I'll tell you one last thing, just to go to your point here. Monday was Don Was's birthday.
Oh, right down to Don Was.
And Don Was and Bruce Lunville, who was the prior president, had the exact same birthday. Right?
And I forgot to mention Don Was. I interviewed him for Downbeat when this thing, Tone Poet, began, and he was just so, yet again, another perfect choice.
He's the greatest guy, man. He's just, I
gracious,
love him.
Sweet, real.
Totally.
Well, Joe, thank you for your generosity and your time. Greatly appreciated, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you, Ken.
Okay, man. All the best.
Same here. Yeah, I love I love how you'll put visuals in it's really cool. Like, it always is surprising and it's always right on point.
But myself, there's another guy named Dan the Jazz Shepherd, has a lot of great knowledge about
I like his, he's cool, man.
Yes. Steve made me do my channel. I made him do his channel.
Well, good for you.
He's got such a deep knowledge. He'll appreciate that you're watching his stuff.
No, I do. And he's a very passionate dude, and that makes for great viewing.
You think, Rudy, how close did he cut the mother, or whatever you call it, put the lathe to work after he did the session, you think?
To the point of he had to make another tape for Alfred. You'd have to make the decisions which take of a tune, which is the best take, and then you'd have to come up with a sequence. And so there has to be a time lag there. And then are you bringing the artist in to be involved in that process? And I don't know. I think later on they probably did. I kind of doubt that happened a ton back in the day, because those cats were on to the next thing.
I bet Lion and Wolf probably titled all the albums.
Probably.
Yeah, because they're all pretty uniform.
Yeah.
Even
and then you had, Reed Miles and his aesthetic. Yeah, all those things together. Talk about, the like you say, the gods aligning. Boy, it's crazy.
And right down to what you and Kevin are doing.
Thank you. You know, we weren't there back in the day, but I was buying them when I was a kid. You know, I just thought they were the coolest things. I remember the very first one I bought was Cool Strutting. And I was just a little kid. I rode my bicycle down to the store. And I'd been to the library. I was fascinated by jazz. So I knew some of the names. Like I knew Philly Joe Jones. And I thought, I want to have a name like that. You know, that's so cool. But I bought Cool Strutting because I knew the label was cool. And I also bought it because I was just becoming old enough that the hormones were kicking in a little bit and the cover had legs. And I was like, oh, look at those legs. Now they look really, you know, that's Ruth's legs, of course, but they look so old fashioned now. But in 1958, it was pretty hot. So I'd put that thing on and I'd look at the cover and group to the music and be like, man, those legs. I want to change my name.
Jumpin' Joe Harley.
Something. Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. I'll let you go, Joe. Thanks again so much.
Yep. Pleasure. Take care.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.